newzealandmusician.co.nz.
Alright, I'm here with Tal, who are a newcomer band here from Auckland, and because most people at home who are watching this, they probably don't really know who you are, so I was thinking maybe you could introduce yourself to our viewers.
I'm Shalina.
And I'm Shantini. And we're Tal.
Are you from Auckland originally, or are you one of those moved here for studies but really from the South Island?
No, yeah, we're from Auckland. We used to be called Talika, so we competed in 2013 smoke-free Rockfest in Auckland, where we placed second in the Auckland Regional Finals, and then we made it to the top 10 solo duo acts in the country, but that's as far as we got. Yeah, but yeah, we changed our name winter last year.
I think our sound began to change, and so naturally with that came a name change, and yeah.
When you were still Talika, what was your sound like then, and what is it now with Tal?
I think when we were Talika it was very much like folk, acoustic folk. There were still elements of traditional Indian music in there, but sometime after that competition we started to get into more electronic music and synthetic sounds, and we invested in software, producing software, and yeah, that affected our sound, and we became, it was like the same as before, but it had more of like an electronic kind of bass to it. Yeah, and it just felt right having the name change, I think. Yeah.
Is there a meaning behind Talika or Tal?
Yeah, so Tal is the Sanskrit term for rhythm, and it's also an acronym for Teeny and Lena.
Our friends call us that.
Yeah. So, yeah, it wasn't intentional.
No, but it works.
Yeah.
That's pretty perfect. Now with your sound the way it sounds now, you've just released an EP. And it's still, I mean, there's electronica in there, there's still some acoustic in there, some interesting instrumentation, as you mentioned before, traditional Indian stuff. Can you maybe tell me what instruments we're hearing when listening to the EP?
So the drums you'll hear are the tabla, which are traditional Indian drums, and the strings are the sitar. Yeah, so they're both very old Indian instruments, around like 3,000 years old, I'd say. Yeah.
And who plays what?
Teeny plays the tabla, I play the sitar. So we've been learning since February 2013, so about 5 years now. That was a bit of on and off during uni because it's a very big commitment learning those instruments.
How good would you say you are on those? Because I know they are just actual masters, right? You dedicate your entire life to them.
Yeah. I mean, our progress with them was like quite very quick and very advanced, and I think that's because we had learnt other instruments in the past, so things like timing and technique wasn't that hard to acquire. But yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah, there are maestros, and indeed you can't even compare. But I am quite proud of us for taking on the challenge, especially in a country like New Zealand. You know, we bought the instruments on a whim when we were visiting family in Malaysia, and we went to a shop just to look and ended up walking out of the shop with the sitar and the tabla. I don't know what we were thinking because we didn't even
I didn't even know if there were teachers here to teach us, first of all. Yeah,
most of the other instruments we play, like banjo and guitar and things like that, piano, we've always self-taught. You know, we've had a few lessons here and there when we were younger, but most of it is self-taught. So I guess we were just kind of had that at the back of our mind, like it was doable. But yeah, our father actually managed to find our gurus, which is teacher, here, which is so rare and so lucky that like we could find teachers here.
Yeah, and they happen to live really close to where we live.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really good, but it's a huge commitment, eh? Like lessons once a week, practice. You know, before a performance, I was doing like 4 hours a day, like weeks, like a month before the performance, that sort of thing.
And it seems like a lot that even, you know, back in the day, students, and even still in India, students will stay with their guru in their home, live with them for an amount of time, play hours and hours a day. There's even a story of a sitar player, and he had a thing hanging from the ceiling attached to his hair, so when he would start to nod and fall asleep, it would yank at his hair and he'd wake up again. Yeah. I think that kind of sums it up, like the dedication and the time that goes into learning. So,
but I mean, that's probably the extreme side of things. Now, on the electronic side of your music, what sort of gear do you use there, and what software? What's your setup?
So we use Logic Pro. Yeah, it was all self-taught. Yeah,
Didn't know what we were doing half of the time, so. The EP took a while because it was like a lot of navigating the software and trying to figure out.
Knowing the sounds we wanted, but trying to translate, you know, how to make those sounds. Yeah, a lot of learning. Yeah, we're lucky. We've got a lot of friends who are musicians, and we've learned a lot from.
They help us out.
People showing us things. Yeah. Yeah.
And in terms of releasing and everything, you're completely independent at this point, right?
Yeah.
How do you share managerial duties between one another?
Just do everything together, really. Like, we're on the same page about everything. So like we have all our social media, like we share that load. Email, we share that load.
We're always together anyway, so yeah, we do. Yeah.
Do you think that has something to do with the twins thing?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, probably. But I think we both just really want this. We really want to make it work as well, so we're just super dedicated making that happen.
Have you got like a long-term goal that you're working towards with this? Because it's kind of good to have one with. Well, what is yours?
Yeah, well, I mean, ideally, we would like to be signed somewhere along the line. I mean, we wrote and we recorded and we produced everything with the EP at home. But like, ideally, I think we'd like to be signed, do things in a studio. I think we're capable of a lot more, but it's like hard with just the two of us and what we know. Like, so it would be nice to work with other people and like.
Yeah, we recorded everything at home with you know basic equipment. Yeah, and I think it was really good, but it is limiting, you know, as opposed to being in a studio, and you know, we still could have done that. But you know, I think with a studio, you kind of, if you're paying by the hour and you have to go in knowing exactly what you want to record that day and all of that. So a lot of this was learning as we were going. So it was nice to be at home and have that, you know, able to do that.
Have you got people that you think it would be wonderful to collaborate with them, or let's start maybe with that. Are there people you think that if you were to collaborate with that person, your music would take a certain direction that you would be really happy about?
Yeah, well, we've talked about, you know, it would be good to maybe have someone to produce for us. That way we could put all our focus into, you know, vocals and...
When you're in that recording and that producing process, you get very caught up in your head, and you don't necessarily, sometimes you're not like open to new sounds, or like I think it would be really nice to have someone there who could guide us and maybe suggest things that we're probably not thinking about at the time.
Yeah.
Just really curious to see what else we can come up with like more resources. Yeah.
And apart from being signed, I mean, being signed seems to be like, as an independent musician in New Zealand, that's of course not so easy because there's not a lot of money to go around to begin with. But is there like a goal, like do you want to be touring overseas, or are festivals, or what are your sort of other than being signed?
Yeah, definitely overseas, I think. Yeah. Yeah, probably Europe, I think, and even places with a larger Indian community, and because our music is quite, you don't hear much of it in New Zealand, like artists doing what we're doing. And I mean, there's a huge Indian community here and an Indian music community, but
it's very insular, you know, like everything kind of circulates within the community, and we're trying to like get out of that
And I feel we have so many friends who aren't Indian who are so interested in Indian music and Indian instruments, and they always tell us, you know, they're too intimidated to attend a concert.
Or they didn't even know those concerts were going on in the first place.
Yeah, so I guess what we're trying to do is almost like, I don't know if normalise is the word, but make people more familiar with these sounds and just kind of spread. It's almost like shining a new light, because it's a very ancient tradition of, you know, Indian music. So to be able to like play it with more modernised things and sounds and
introduce it to people in a way that's not that intimidating.
Yeah, I found it quite accessible. I thought, you know, when I first started listening to it, it took me a while to go, oh, actually, this is quite special. There's instrumentation on there that's really unusual for this kind of music. And it didn't sound like the Indian music you hear when when you go into a restaurant or something in the background. It's quite different and it's very modern. Do you think people, like if you were to go to India to play it, do you think people would be responding well to the music?
I think so. I mean, there's a bit of an independent alternative music scene that's opening up in India. I think because there's like so much, you know, the Bollywood industry is huge, and there's just like so much music out there that people are taking things upon themselves. So the independent musician scene is huge, and people are like open to more styles, more like folky stuff, singer-songwriter.
Yeah, and we've had really good feedback. We've been so overwhelmed. We've had a few complete strangers who were Indian that have reached out to us and told us how our music has made them feel and how nice it was to hear, you know, something that hasn't been done or it isn't common. And yeah, I think it's important to be proud of your culture and your heritage, and
share it with people. And
because we're half Indian, half Kiwi, it seemed natural for us to fuse like the two. But
no, I love that. I think I wish more people in New Zealand would just embrace the culture they were raised in with their new influences that they get from the mix of cultures around here. Because I feel people try to sing in American English when they sing, you know, and they bring in other influences that they think sound cool, rather than just looking within and taking the material that they've already got that makes them unique and wonderful in this country, in this world, and just work with that and create art that is very much New Zealand. And I think that's kind of what you do in a way, even though it's got Indian influences. It's half Indian, it's half New Zealand.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it. Now, if people are curious about your music, where can we send them to have a listen?
We're on Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, Bandcamp,
and Deezer.
Yeah.
And YouTube.
So we're really. But we wanted it to be accessible to people, so they don't necessarily have to buy it. I mean, that would be great, because we're low on funds at the moment. But,
hint, hint.
Yeah, but it's nice to put it out on SoundCloud and Spotify.
People can just stream it.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
And I hope it'll all go really well for you.
Thank you.